Now, the part that, just before we go into the other part, with your great background in poetry, you've won awards for being district leader. You're on the Irvington Planning Board. You're, just give us some of the many things that you've been involved with through your many years of being in Irvington.
Well, in Irvington, I've been blessed to meet some very decent people who were willing to bring me along and get me involved in the community. One of the first people I have to acknowledge is D. Bilal Beasley. I met him many years ago from the South Ward when he was just became a councilman, and I used to go in his office and sit down and with this other brother, I forget his name, he had a little kufa on his head, but they taught me that you should, if you're in this community, that the community should be able to apply for the positions in the town and have councilmen and mayors and that type of thing, because when I first got here, there were no black mayors, there were no black councilmen, or there might have been one. And we were not in a position of political power. There was no, I know it may be hard for people to realize that we were not in a position of political power. All the councilmen were white of European descent, and we had, the biggest thing we had was a board president, Michael Steele. So what I was able to do was to start getting involved on the ground floor of learning how to get involved by being a district leader, by supporting other people in elections to get to certain positions. And then eventually I was asked if I wanted to run for board member, and I said, sure, I'll run for that. And they helped me get on, run for board member, and I won, and I was on the Board of Education for a couple of years. Unfortunately, there was a big thing about that because we brought in the first black superintendent to this school district, and then people started getting upset about what we were doing up there, because it wasn't just me, it was me and 3 other women, Carrie Patterson, yeah. And so we were starting to make strides, and then there was a big, I don't know what you would call it, backlash by a lot of residents, and then they wanted us to get out. They wanted to have an appointed board, and they eventually got the elected board out and had an appointed board, so we had to go. So I understood that, and that was that. But following up after that, Wayne Smith got in, and he appointed me to the planning board. And that was an eye-opener, because I had always, when I went to a planning board meeting, I had thought that they weren't really being proactive or doing anything when I saw them. But then when I got on there, it really opened my eyes to what being on the planning board meant and the difficulties involved in doing that. And it was a real eye-opener. I really enjoyed it. While I was on there, I eventually made chairman of the planning board, and I was on there for 8 years. And so that was a very enlightening experience. Right. Now, all the while I was still writing poetry. Right. And in the meantime, Wayne had asked me, well, I had known that there was a poet laureate when Sarah Bose was the mayor. And I'd asked Wayne, was he going to have a poet laureate? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I wouldn't mind being considered. Next thing I know, I received a letter saying that I would be named the poet laureate. And so I was very pleased and honored to have that opportunity, as while I was on the planning board and while I was in the township. So that's a few of the things I've done. I've been always involved in career fairs at Florence Avenue School, on those where you read, celebrity reads, where they have you. I've seen you there also for many years. So I went to share my poetry. When they say reading books, I bring my books and read my poetry. It was usually well received. And so that's basically what I've been doing, other than being a district leader for 20 years and over 25 years really which is helping people in your town understand how to vote, where to vote. I was also a block association president, Park Place Block Association, for over 10 years. So I've been involved with the community in terms of helping my neighbors understand the importance of voting. Hopefully they understand that now, and getting involved in the solution, which had its height when we were able to elect the first black president. That was the biggest honor I ever had, was being involved in the election of the first black president, and helping Mr. Obama get in office. And he sent me some things that acknowledged my involvement, and I really appreciate it. So that culminated in something really, really beautiful and great, and I really appreciate it.
Okay, so, and you are still now actively the Township's Poet Laureate.
Yes.
Yes. So that's, again, with your extensive career and the books, and I've been fortunate enough to hear you read your poems, and I'm able to write poems, but it's like I had a deacon at the church, and I trained to become a deacon. I am a deacon, but I always say I can never be him, because he would get up and he would sing a song with such passion. Everybody be up out their seat. Now I can sing all I want, but I can never be
like
him.
that.
So your passion for doing poetry, I may be able to write poetry, but the passion to express it in, so eloquently, that is definitely a gift. If you don't mind, can you share with our audience, some of your poetry so they can hear it?
Sure. I just had a poem that was put in the Herald the other day. I'm not sure whether I asked them to or not, but they put it in there.
I saw it.
And I want to read this poem because it basically explains in a nutshell what I do. And so I wanted to share this with everyone who out there is called a poet. By the way, when I first started writing poetry, I didn't want to read poetry. I just wanted to write it, because I wasn't about getting in front of people and reading stuff. But I spoke to some people. They said, you have to read if you're going to write. You got to get there. And so I started reading too. This is called The Poet. They call me the poet because I say some rhymes about what's going down in our days and times, string some words together to express myself, string some words together for our mental health. Call out some folks who are doing wrong, call out some folks singing the same old song. Trying to make sense out of what we do, trying to give our youth a different view. Attempting to give hope to those in need while sharing information and planting some seeds. Fighting a war with words is how I roll, fighting a war with words so it doesn't take its toll on our children's mind and how they think, while grown-ups sit up and give their action a wing. Yeah, they call me the poet, because I say some rhymes, but I'm a warrior with words, walking through time.
Man, that's great. And again, it expresses so well, when you listen to the words, and now we have this thing called rap. And rap is an extension of some of the great men and women that you spoke to. Gwendolyn Brooks, you spoke of Langston Hughes, and the Dr. Jeffries and the Dr. Gumthers, who so eloquently put their points across.
Right.
And your poetry, I've always found it to just be, when you say something, it's gut-wrenching. You know that you didn't just write it, you felt it,
Right.
So I thank you for sharing that. I don't know if you have another that you're going to share with the audience?
I was gonna follow your suggestion and read this one that I read at the Veterans Day, in view of the fact that this is Pearl Harbor's Day,
Yes.
and in view of the hundreds of thousands of men that we lost in Pearl Harbor in such a despicable attack on people who were sleeping and had no idea that this was coming. It focuses on, though, those people who had to come home after that and deal with that. It's so traumatic when your best friend is here one day and gone the next. It is so traumatic that it never really leaves you, and because you feel guilty, I guess, about making it out while they were taken away. And then those that come home and really can't function it's so difficult, and people look at them like something's wrong with them. Well, war, trust me, war makes something wrong with you, because it's something that's not normal. And so I said, I need to write something about coming home because of this PTS, post-traumatic stress disorder that's out here. And I penned this one for the Veterans Day event the other day. It's called Coming Home. Coming home after being assigned to a place so far away. Coming home to your family to start a new day. Even though you're not quite ready to start all over again, since the pain you've experienced is still stored deep within, since the loss of your friends is still fresh in your mind, and you'll never forget those that you left behind. Now there are days when the pain is simply too much to bear, so you don't want to get up and you don't really care. Can't sleep, can't eat, or do what normal folks do, still caught up in the frightening images that you had to view. Sweating profusely when it's not even hot, scared of what may happen if you lose what you got, feeling isolated and alone with no one to trust, getting into an argument over the least little fuss, and all the while wondering if you made the right choice when you signed up to join after hearing that voice.
It's very heavy. It's very heavy, and I challenge our audience to just listen. This is going to come on several times. Listen to it, because again, I thank men and women like Mr. Garner who served and took the time, because the things that they've seen, the things that they experienced, we who never served wouldn't be able to digress and take into our minds. We're going to take a short break, and then we have some other follow-up. Thank you very much for reading those two poems to us, and we will follow through as soon as we come back. Thank you.
You're welcome.